According to the property division of my divorce documents in my files for the year 2000, you can see that I had two IRAs. One a Roth for $3,955 and 41, and another a traditional IRA for $6,865.52. I never withdrew any amounts from these IRAs until 2002, when I requested a total liquidation of all my shares in both IRAs. So there was a total of $10,821 in the year 2000 at the time this property division was drafted. Now compare this with the actual amount that I received when I asked to liquidate all my shares and all my IRAs in the year 2002. I received $4,022. What happened to the difference between $10,821 and $4,022? I was told that the amount was lost because of the stock market. In an IRA, you can lose about $6,000 that you paid into an IRA because of the stock market. What you are viewing here is a counterfeit 2002 tax return. Someone came into my apartment when I wasn't here and removed the 2002 tax return, which I totally self-prepared from my files and which I submitted to the IRS. They took it out of my files and replaced it with this counterfeit, which makes it appear that I used H&R Block to do my tax return for 2002. But I fired H&R Block and did it all myself. I even drafted a legal document to end our relationship because I did not want anyone to think I used H&R Block to do my tax return for 2002 because I could tell they were working for the Jesuits. And here's what I drafted. On this 15th day of March 2003 in Melbourne, Florida, H&R Block has canceled its agreement to assist Gail Schuler with her 2002 U.S. tax return and has canceled its agreement to file Gail Schuler's 2002 U.S. tax return. H&R Block has agreed to refund Gail Schuler the $92 which she paid to H&R Block on March 14, 2003, since H&R Block will not be assisting and or filing Gail Schuler's 2002 U.S. tax return. The $92 refund will be refunded by April 15, 2003. Gail Schuler understands that her agreement with H&R Block to file and or assist her with her 2002 U.S. tax return has been canceled and signifies this understanding by her signature below. H&R Block understands that Gail Schuler's agreement with H&R Block to file and or assist Gail with her 2002 U.S. tax return has been canceled and signifies this understanding by the signature of an H&R Block representative below. Both signatures are below, folks. Both Gail Schuler and H&R Block understand that Gail will receive a refund of the $92 which she paid to H&R Block, and both Gail and H&R Block signify this understanding by their signatures on this document. What you are viewing now is the Dear John letter I got from H&R Block giving me my refund and inviting me to use their services next year. I have never used their services since 2002. I don't trust them. You also see a copy of the $92 refund check which I received. I hired H&R Block to do my taxes in 2002, but notice they were putting incorrect amounts on my tax return regarding my IRAs and were not filling out the tax form correctly. I believe they tried to make it appear that the actual amount I received when I totally liquidated my IRAs in 2002 was in the range of $11,000. I said, wait a minute, I didn't get that much. So why are you putting that on my tax return? That's lying, and I promised to tell the truth when I signed this document. So I tried calling those who manage my IRAs to get the basis for my IRA, which is the amount that was paid into the IRAs over the years, because we needed this for the tax returns. And even though the IRA was subject to the stock market, the only part that should be affected would be the interest on the amount paid into the IRA. I do not believe you can lose what you have paid into an IRA because of the stock market. It only affects how much interest you get on your IRA. I got the runaround, and despite about 40 phone calls and dozens of letters, I could never get a clear answer about what was the basis of my IRAs. I believe the reason for this is because if the basis was listed in my tax return, which I believe was in the range of $11,000, and because I only received $4,022, and my legal forms with the company managing my IRAs indicated that I had liquidated all my shares, then the big question is, what happened to the difference between $4,022 and $11,000? That difference amounts to about $6,978. The answer I was given was that I lost that huge amount because of the stock market. Because I could not afford to move my stuff from Seattle after the divorce, and I never paid much attention to my IRAs, I neglected to bring the paperwork or contracts I had signed for these IRAs, and therefore did not have absolute proof about how much was paid into the IRAs. I left them behind in Seattle in my files. When I tried to get this paperwork from the company that managed my IRAs, I was given the runaround and transferred from one city to another, from one person to another, and the best answer I could get was were these letters that beat around the bush and did not give a clear answer over how much was actually paid into my IRA accounts. It's also possible my ex-husband might have taken that stuff out of my files too. So he was up on that stuff and I wasn't. Someone also, in my Seattle files, so he might have been behind this conspiracy from the very beginning. Someone also came into my apartment and went through my files and replaced bank statements with counterfeits, replaced my 2002 tax return with a counterfeit. In the 2002 tax return, they correctly listed that I received $4,022 on Form 8606 for non-deductible IRAs, but they incorrectly listed on Form 5329 that my early distributions were $11,243, which I suspect is the amount I should have received somewhere in that range in 2002. When I filled out the tax return, I listed $4,022 on Form 5329 as the amount. I had to leave the basis or the amount paid into the IRAs over the years blank because I was unable to get this information or any legal documentation about this from my ex-husband or the company that managed my IRAs. I believe that the Jesuits stole about $5,000 to $6,000 from my IRAs and had one of their agents come into my apartment to replace real documents with counterfeits to cover up their crimes when I was out of the apartment. For this reason, I only allow people into my apartment now when I'm home. In 2002, I had to file for bankruptcy, and the $4,022 which I received was not adequate. I went without electricity for a while. I think it was a day. I managed to bargain with them in September or October 2002 because I had no money for the electric bill. And for 1 month, I lived off a big, fat pumpkin, making all sorts of dishes with pumpkin because I didn't have much money for food. I also had no health insurance and went without many other things. This is what Zack Knight and his Jesuits did to me when I had the courage to divorce my ex to try and be with Brent Spiner. And while I was waiting for Brent Spiner or Vladimir Putin to come and rescue me and marry me in 2002, Jesuits impregnated their agent, Lori McBride, with stolen semen from Brent Spiner and used that to keep him from me while I desperately needed money in 2002. They also blocked Vladimir Putin from me by forcing the Jesuit Ludmila onto him and threatening to kill me if any of these men dared to try and help me. So though my men wanted to help me, they'd rather have me alive. I tried to get work, but the yeast infection the Jesuits gave me made me very sick. It got better in 2003 when Vladimir's computer satellite doctor started working on my body. Zack Knight and his Jesuits have kept me in poverty by breaking and twisting the law and using their agents to steal or confiscate most of my money. They think they're above the law. They knew I did not have the money to fight them in court, and I concluded that I'd probably lose all the $5,000 to $6,000 in legal fees fighting them, so I gave up and took the loss. But how could anybody be so stupid to think that I would ever desire a Jesuit as a lover, or even trust a Jesuit as a lover? I refuse to make love to Zack Knight. He can only get love for me when I think he's Jesus. And that doesn't work anymore because Jesus has assured me he would never desire me as a sex partner. The only being I despised more than the Jesuits was the Gail android because she murdered millions with no heart. And when I signed that contract with Zack Knight where he tricked me and embedded into the signature line that I secretly wanted him, which is a bunch of crap. I did so because Jesus informed me that if I didn't sign this treaty with the Jesuits to have a peace with them about while we fought together to defeat the Gail android, that the Gail android would destroy the human race. I trusted Jesus and signed the document. Jesus knew that Zack Knight had tricked me, and I don't understand why he allowed me to sign such a document that alleges that I would ever want Zack as a lover, but I believe in Romans 8:28. And Jesus, I want to make this prayer. If I ever make love in any way to Zack Knight, knowing full well that it is Zack I'm making love to, I want you to kill me. Just knock me down with a lightning bolt. I would rather die than make love to Zack Knight. If anyone tries to force me to make love to Zack Knight, just take me home. Don't ever let it happen. The only way he's going to make love to me will be if he makes love to my corpse.